This video will prepare you to lead your group through session 1 of Redeem Sexuality. Many groups use this first meeting as a chance to get to know each other. Your priority in this session is to set the tone, to create a safe space, and to set expectations for how the group will work. Also to make sure that everyone's on the same page, which the main exercise of this session, a common vocabulary, will help you do by giving you a mature, nuanced way to talk about sexuality as Christians. Hopefully by now everyone in your group has signed the group covenant on page 9, but if they haven't, now is a great time to take a look at that and answer any questions they have about it. Beyond that, there's some freedom here to spend some time building community in a way that's comfortable for you, to cast your vision for this group and what you're hoping will happen, to find out more about why they joined and what they're hoping to get out of it, and also to exchange phone numbers so you can stay connected. It could also be a time to answer any questions they have, and even to share your own story and model what that looks like for them, since they'll be doing it next week. During the session, I always like to emphasize that this group meeting time that everyone is coming to once per week is not the main focus of the group. The weekly meeting is kind of like a huddle. It's not game time. The huddle is where you get together and prepare for game time, which starts once your group leaves the meeting. If you're struggling with pornography, masturbation, or other kinds of sexual brokenness, your times of greatest need and of greatest opportunity are actually not going to be during the group meeting. When it's 2 a.m., you're feeling tempted, you're alone in your dorm room, that's when the group matters the most. So we can't focus on the group meeting alone and how that's going to determine how our group's actually going. The real test of how your group is doing is how they relate to one another in their times of weakness, temptation, struggle, and need, which happen throughout the week. The point of the huddle is to get together so that when the group meeting is over, we're still operating as a unit, still supporting one another, still staying in communication. That's one of the most important reframes people need as they start this group. This is why prayer partners are so important. Prayer partners take the dynamic that you're creating in your weekly meetings and take it to the places and to the times when people in your group need it most. The point of prayer partners is not to keep tabs on sexual bad behaviors, but to minister the gospel to one another when we need it most, to give a space for confession, affirmation, encouragement, and challenge. That's where the main healing and transformation in your groups will happen. So, make sure every participant in your group knows that time with their prayer partner is just as important as time in the group meetings. I also encourage you to download the Our Tribe app and to have your group download that app to stay connected. Toward the end of the group meeting, walk your group through the next step material on page 20 and following, which will help them prepare to share the story of their sexual history with the rest of the group. This is the only homework assignment they'll ever have for Redeem Sexuality. Then set up a time to share stories. Story sharing can take a long time. And if you try to do it in the regular weekly meeting slot, it could take you up to a month to get through everyone's stories. So I recommend telling the stories all at once in a marathon on a weekend. If the weekend after your intro meeting won't work, then you can do it the following weekend and use the next weekly meeting to tell your story. Whether you tell your story at the end of this meeting, at the next week's meeting, or as the first story of the marathon, make sure you tell your story first to model for the members of your group how they will tell theirs. And finally, I recommend ending your weekly meeting the same way every time, whether it's with a prayer, with a song that you all sing together, or with some of the material from the book in the appendix on page 93 or page 95. Those are great tools that you can use to help your group get into a rhythm. And after each meeting, whether in your own personal reflection or in conversation with a co-leader, always ask yourself, what worked well, what could have gone better, and what will you do differently next time to lead your group more effectively?